I'm going to mute myself and cut my video off. And Kelly, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Coleman, and thank you for everyone for taking some time out of your busy Monday morning. I know as business owners, we all have much to do, so thank you for taking some time to invest in yourself and your business, and I just hope you gain a lot of information today. I'm going to keep the slide real short and sweet. What we're going to talk about today, it's going to challenge you to think differently about your marketing dollars. I'm asking you to think about it in a much different way. So feel free to jump into the chat box if you have questions. Also, at the very end, I will have my contact information as well. So if you're more comfortable reaching out one-on-one, you're welcome to do that as well. And I'm happy to answer any questions you might have. So first off, business is about buying lifetime customers. So often we think about our business as purchasing our product or creating our product for the lowest cost possible and then selling it at a markup to make a profit. But really, if you think about it, if you can purchase lifetime customers, that way you have that repeat business, your business is going to be much more stable and predictable, which also gives you predictable cash flow. So there's two vital numbers that you want to look at in your business in correlation to marketing: your acquisition cost and lifetime value. Acquisition cost is going to be what it costs for you to obtain that new customer. So what it costs for them to walk through the door and buy from you. And then lifetime value is what is that customer worth over the lifetime of doing business with you. An easy way to get that number would be to, if you've got a point of sale system or a database, look and see how many times that customer has bought from you and what that dollar amount has been every time. And you can quickly add up the lifetime value of them versus what it costs to get them on that first purchase. So there's two types of acquisition costs, and this is something I'm going to show you, the one for a very small marketing budget, and then the one that would possibly be a step-up marketing budget. So the first one that I want you to think about, and it might be a new concept, is your allowable acquisition costs. And what that would be is making sure that the cost to obtain that new customer is less than the profit of your first sale with them. So let's say that your profit is $20 on the item they purchased. Well, did it cost less than $20 to get them through the door? Say boosting Facebook ads, direct mail, a newspaper ad you did. If that dollar amount is less than the profit on that item, then you're within your allowable acquisition cost, which means you have an unlimited marketing budget. So that allowable acquisition cost is designed to give you kind of a boundary line of what you're spending. It's a quick way to figure it. If you don't have a lot of marketing strategies currently, which we'll get into ways to develop new ones, it's a really good baseline for you to say, oh my goodness, I'm spending $50 on boosting these ads and I only got one new customer off of it and I made $10. Maybe I should rethink this. So that's just for starters to think about, and you can test it on a few new customers that come through your doors. The second one is an investment acquisition cost. This is when that acquisition cost is more than the profit on your first sale. And if it is more than the profit on your first sale, then you ideally are really looking for repeat business. Maybe it's a membership basis type thing. If it's a gym or a delivery service, something like that. I would recommend this if you know that you've already got built-in repeat sales where you can absorb some of that acquisition cost that's greater than the profit on the initial sale. But that's something that you would really want to market or measure, and that would be considered investment marketing budget, where you know up front you're going to spend greater, so you need to make sure that you can make up for it on the back end. So just a quick example on how to calculate acquisition cost as a whole. So say you spend $1,000, and we're just going to keep these numbers simple today. If you spend $1,000 on an ad and you get 10 new customers from it, it costs you $100 to buy each one. And that's something I want you to get in the habit of thinking about. You're purchasing your customers. So then we're going to talk about all of the hidden costs that might be baked in to your acquisition cost. And if you're taking notes today, I would just jot some of these down because it'll give you food for thought to make sure you're capturing this information. And it's easy to not, so that's why we're here today. So first, what is your advertisement cost per contact? And what I mean by this is your method of contact. So if you have an outbound salesperson, that would be their salary divided by the number of calls they made. That's the cost per contact. Or if you outsource telemarketing, what is that costing and how many calls do they guarantee a day? Like some you can say, I'm purchasing 50 outbound calls from this telemarketing company. So what does that cost per contact? Or if it is a Facebook boost and you paid $10 for it to reach 500 people, then that would be divided out to give you your cost per contact there. Or in web world, it would be impressions made. And then also your cost per handle lead. And what that means is how many times is that lead getting handled if you divvied it up. So if you have a sales process, how many different people does it touch before they actually make payment? So do they call in and speak to your front reception person? Does someone else follow up with pre-screening information or to confirm an appointment? Because that's another touch in the sale. And then when they come in and they receive the service or product, that's another person that's touched them. So all of that adds up to calculate in what your overall overhead is directed to that particular sale. Also, the cost of an info kit. This could be anything from a membership welcome kit to the brochures in your office, or if you have, a first visit little welcome bag, all of that should be also calculated into that, the price for all of the items in there. And then another thing to measure is your conversion rate per step. And what I mean by this is a lot of the times you might find that there are gaps in your system. So say the front desk speaks to the person and she books a client or books a new appointment for each time she talks. But then in the follow-up, maybe to collect additional information, meetings get canceled. Well, what does that break in the process? Where does the conversion rate decline before you make the actual sale? One thing we talk about a lot with ActionCOACH is testing and measure everything, because testing and measuring is much cheaper than trial and error. So if you aren't in the habit already, if you take away one thing from today, it would be make sure you're testing any current processes you have and making sure you know where any gaps might be or areas of improvement. And then cost per step. That's kind of the same thing as cost per handle lead, written another way. In each step of your sales process, what is that costing you? So when you figure out each of those people that are handling it, you've got their salaries, you've got the kit. So what does that whole step entail?
Kelly, I'm gonna interrupt you because I had a question.
Sure.
Is there an ideal amount? I should read it because the guy posted it and I shouldn't paraphrase. Would it be more beneficial to handle a lead more or less, as in having lots of folks talking to a client or keeping it to a minimum? I think I can understand the sentiment if a client or potential sale keeps getting passed around to multiple people, how that can be unholy frustrating.
Yes.
Sometimes.
And that really goes into measuring that conversion rate per step, because if you do have someone passed around a lot, you might quickly find out where they're dropping off at. So that goes into training your team, making sure that even your frontline people are fully educated to give them that kind of service, because you want to make sure that the service is consistent as well. Because if they came in with a good experience and something falls off in between their initial interaction and the final sale, you need to know that as the business owner so that you can course correct or maybe filter out some of those steps and even automate some of them. There's a lot of neat opportunities these days to automate a lot of the steps that would have been paper trails in the past. So good question.
Awesome. There you go.
The last cost per lead would be sales commission, which is one of the big ticket items And I always say I try to warn business owners, don't forget about your commission, because a lot of the times that gets paid out after. And so we forget about it in the grand scheme of thinking about our actual acquisition cost, because we're trying to keep it low. But if that sales rep was the one that brought them in and you're paying out a percentage afterwards, make sure that that's backed into your number. So when you're buying customers, we're going to talk about a few different things that should be included in your marketing budget. You can base it on your acquisition cost. So one of the first things you'd want to go back and do is make sure either you know what that allowable acquisition cost is for you, if that's something you want to stick with to stay very conservative as you're starting out, or your marketing investment, what you're willing to spend based on current cash flow and what you've already created for your budget this year. And then next, think about how many customers are you wanting to buy? And that's a valid question. You can think, oh, I want to get as many customers as possible. But ideally, can you handle that many customers? Or if you open up the floodgates too strong, are they going to be unideal customers, or will quality suffer? Or do you even have the product and material to service that many customers? So those are the things that you want to think about, especially as you get into more targeted marketing. And then you're going to pick your strategies and offers, which we're going to get into later, but you're going to fine tune specific strategies with specific offers, with specific